So, raise your hand if you plugged in a device to charge today. Most everybody. All right. Now, raise your hand if you thought about where the power came from to charge that device. Not that many hands. Not hardly at all, as I expected. For most of us, energy is something that we use without thinking about. We expect the lights to turn on. We expect our phones to charge. We expect the AC to work. But power is not just about electricity. Power is about influence. It's about who makes decisions. It's about who benefits and who doesn't. And so as we are shaping the future of energy, we must ask ourselves, who has the power? Energy is at the center of everything that we do. It powers our lives, our homes, our businesses, even our cars. Everywhere we live, work, play, and pray depends on energy. Right now, we are in the midst of a massive global transformation of our energy systems. And we finally have widespread acknowledgement that we must move away from polluting, harmful fossil fuels toward clean, more renewable energy sources. But here's the problem. Just because change is happening does not mean it is happening fairly. The same communities that have been overburdened by pollution, bear disproportionate impacts of climate change, and have higher utility costs, the same communities that have historically been left behind are at risk of being left behind again in this so-called clean energy future. And that is where Black women come in. Now, some of you might ask yourself, what do Black women have to do with energy? And my answer, everything. I grew up in a small town called Gallatin, Tennessee. I spent a lot of time outside, running around in the woods near my house, playing in the creek, riding bikes from neighborhood to neighborhood until the streetlights came on. All surrounded by the best nature had to offer, as me and my friends got our first taste of freedom. I was also raised by my grandparents, and being Black in the South at their age, remember not being able to vote, going to segregated schools. Those schools were later my elementary schools. Fulfilling one of my daddy's dreams, our family business was a restaurant. And the walls of that restaurant were covered with these huge photographs of Union High School graduates. Even after integration, Union High School graduates of the all-Black high school in Gallatin, would come back every year from all over the country to reconnect, reminisce, celebrate, and fellowship. I was constantly surrounded by proud, powerful Black people who remember what it meant to be the first to do something, who remember what it meant to stand up for what is right, especially the women. There was something else happening at the restaurant. It was where I got my first taste of sustainability. My great-grandparents had a garden, and whatever was growing in that garden often made its way onto the menu at the restaurant. My first job was scraping the food off the plates into these big 5-gallon buckets in the kitchen. Our cousins who had farms outside of town would come to the restaurant, pick up those buckets, take it back up to the farm to feed the pigs. I didn't know it back then, but what my family was doing at the restaurant with food from my great-grandparents' garden would now be called farm to table. I didn't know it back then, but what we were doing with those food scraps would now be called food waste diversion. There was something else happening at the restaurant that would shape the reason I am standing here today, and that is gossip about the light bill. There was this group of really fabulous young women who were the waitresses at our restaurant. I used to think I was so cool sitting around the table, listening to them talk about who was doing what with who. They taught me about makeup, they taught me about shaving my legs, and they talked a lot about the light bill. Who didn't pay their light bill last week? Who had their lights turned off last week? And which one of them needed to make enough tips that weekend to pay late fees so their own lights didn't get turned off next week? This tangled web of nature, culture, civil rights, the power of the Black community, and all that talk about the light bill shaped my journey at the intersection of sustainability, energy, and justice. So let's talk about power. And let's start with consumer power. Black women are often the primary income earners in their households. We control about 40% of Black consumer spending, which is expected to reach $2 trillion in the next year. What we buy, we share. We talk, we recommend, we influence entire industries. Then there's political power. Black women are the most dependable voting bloc in the country. In the last 4 presidential elections, our voting percentages have been over 90%. When we mobilize, elections shift, policies change, and movements grow. And perhaps most importantly, we have community power. We lead, we organize, we invest our time, talent, and treasure into our communities. We advocate for social change, but we also know how to make that change happen. So you see, Black women are already powering their communities. Our influence, our spending power, our political power can change community perceptions and drive action. Now imagine if we power and channel that energy into shaping a clean energy future. In my personal story, I spoke about how my community was building political power and practicing sustainability before I even knew what those terms meant. My cultural memory is rooted in seeing Black women be leaders, watching Black women be the protectors of natural resources as a part of everyday life. We have to connect that cultural memory to the power to shape a clean energy, equitable clean energy future. So, as we talk about shaping that clean energy future, we must continue to ask ourselves, who holds the power? For all of that spending power, Black women are very often at the mercy or being categorized as energy insecure. That basically means that your utilities are disconnected because you couldn't afford to pay the light bill and buy groceries in the same month. That basically means keeping your home too hot in the summer and using the stove for heat in the winter because that is the only way you know how to control your costs. These impossible decisions negatively impact Black women's health and well-being. So you see, this isn't just an energy issue. This is a racial justice issue. This is a gender justice issue. This is an economic justice issue. This is a health issue. Right now, energy decisions about where our energy comes from and how much we pay for it are being made by corporations and politicians like those little-known utility regulators. Utilities prioritize profit over people. Utility energy incentives often go to wealthier communities first. Who gets solar panels? Who gets tax credits? Who gets electric vehicle charging in their neighborhood? Who gets to live in healthy, energy efficient, and affordable homes? Imagine that the people most impacted by the climate crisis and those with higher energy costs are leading the charge to solve these issues. This is why I created the Good Energy Project, to connect the transformational power of Black women to the movement for affordable, accessible, clean energy. So what exactly is good energy? Good energy means that no one has to choose between paying the light bill and buying groceries. Good energy means that every home has access to affordable, clean energy, no matter their zip code. Good energy means that solar power isn't just for the wealthy, and community-owned utilities lead the way, where people, not profit, drive decisions about how our energy is generated and how it is distributed. The good news about the Good Energy Project and the future we are trying to build is that much of this is happening right now. Carla Walker, CEO and founder of Carla Walker Miller Energy Services, is the largest Black and women-owned energy efficiency company in the United States, one of the largest. At 19, Jessica Matthews invented a soccer ball that could be used as a portable power generator to bring light to youth in developing nations so they could study after dark. Tanya Hicks, the first Black woman journeyman electrician in Mississippi, has now created an EV charger manufacturing company focused on women and safety while charging. This is the future we are building with the Good Energy Project. So what can you do to help build a good energy future? 1, pay attention to where your energy comes from. Who owns it? Who profits? Who is left out? 2, leverage your influence, whether it's your vote, your spending power, your voice. Demand good energy. And 3, join or support organizations fighting for energy justice. Bonus if those organizations are led by Black women. To quote Felicia Rashad, where the women go, the culture follows. Black women have always been at the center of social change, and now we must channel that power into shaping the future of energy. Because energy can be clean, it can be affordable, and it can be just, but only if we make it that way. Thank you.